Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring something that's, well, quietly transforming the very spaces we live and work in our cities.
That's right. We're talking about artificial intelligence.
Specifically, how AI is getting deeply involved in urban design and architecture. We're aiming to understand how it's making cities not just smarter, but hopefully more sustainable too.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a range of material. We're looking at articles from places like GSC Online Press, SAN Technologies that give a good sense of the tools and market trends.
No.
Then there's Wikipedia, PhilArchive, the American Planning Association, EY, Digital Defined, and even NYU Tandon. So it's a mix covering practical applications, future infrastructure, ethical questions, the whole spectrum, really.
So a broad look. Our mission today, then, is to cut through some of the buzzwords and see what's actually happening. How is AI really changing the way we build, the way we plan? We want to find those, concrete examples.
Definitely. It's about seeing the impact on data analysis, predicting growth, optimizing the infrastructure we rely on, and maybe even how our buildings actually, well, look.
All right, let's jump in. Where do we start? How is AI fundamentally changing the old ways of doing things in architecture and city planning?
Well, a big theme, especially coming from sources like GSC Online Press, is this shift away from purely traditional methods. AI is acting as a catalyst, pushing for better sustainability, more efficiency, and quite a bit of innovation, too.
How so? What does that look like in practice?
Think about the sheer volume of data involved in designing, say, a complex building or planning a neighborhood. AI has this incredible ability to analyze massive data sets, information about materials, energy use, population density, traffic patterns, things humans can grasp, but not at that scale or speed.
Right.
So AI can optimize layouts for better space use or suggest designs that are inherently more energy efficient right from the start.
That's fascinating. So it's helping make better decisions based on data. What about the creative side? Is AI actually designing buildings?
That's where it gets really interesting. We're seeing the rise of generative design, which GSC Online Press and Wikipedia both touch on. You have tools, Midjourney is one example people might know, that use AI algorithms.
Okay.
You feed them parameters, constraints, goals, and they generate potentially hundreds, even thousands of novel architectural forms. Sometimes forms a human designer might not have even considered.
So it's not replacing the designer, but it's like a superpowered brainstorming partner.
Precisely. It can rapidly explore different configurations of materials, space, structure. It speeds up that exploration phase massively. And this ties back to sustainability, too.
How does that connect?
Well, GSC Online Press points out AI's role in optimizing energy efficiency across a building's entire life cycle. Not just the design phase, but construction, operation, even eventual demolition. AI can model and predict energy performance based on countless variables.
So designing with the end in mind, essentially.
Yeah.
It's also becoming part of architectural education,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Getting these skills early.
Yes, that's mentioned too. Future architects are increasingly being trained with these tools, which makes sense. It's becoming a crucial skill set.
Okay, so that's the potential.
Yeah.
Let's talk about specific tools people are actually using now. You mentioned GSC Online Press had examples.
They did. One is called PlanFinder. Its main thing is speed in generating initial design options.
Okay, how does it work?
You basically give it the basics, the size of the space, the rooms you need, relationships between them, and the example they give is like, you draw the external walls, and in under 25 seconds, boom, it gives you 4 distinct, complete floor plans.
Wow, 25 seconds. That's incredibly fast.
It is. It really accelerates that very early stage of just figuring out basic layouts.
Who benefits most from something like that? Is it just for beginners?
The source suggests it's useful across the board. For beginners, yeah, it's great for seeing possibilities, but for experienced pros, it just frees up time. Instead of sketching endless basic variations, they can get those initial ideas out quickly and focus their expertise on refining, on the more complex aspects.
Right, lets them focus on the higher level design thinking. Does it have limitations, though? It can't be perfect.
No, and GSC Online Press points those out. You need fairly precise input, like the wall alignments need to be pretty accurate for it to work well.
Okay.
And it's maybe less suited for highly complex, really intricate, or super unconventional designs straight out of the box. It's more for generating solid, standard layout options quickly. Also, there's a mention of it being somewhat geared towards European standards, so adjustments might be needed elsewhere.
Got it. So a powerful accelerator for initial layouts, but maybe not the final word on unique projects. What's another tool?
TestFit. This one shifts focus a bit more towards site planning and urban planning contexts.
Okay, site planning. How does that work?
It's designed to generate site designs very quickly, but crucially, it incorporates things like cost estimations and, importantly, local zoning regulations.
Zoning. That's always a huge factor. How?
Exactly. So the example given is you define your site boundaries, tell it you want, say, a residential building, and it can generate a design showing potential building massing, number of units, estimated beds, parking counts, all factoring in those regulations.
That sounds incredibly valuable for developers, planners, anyone needing a quick reality check on what's possible on a piece of land.
Absolutely. It helps assess feasibility very early on, and it can generate 3D models too, which helps everyone involved visualize the project. It saves time, saves money, helps communication.
You can see developers using it to test different scenarios quickly. Urban planners too, maybe, for neighborhood layouts.
Precisely. Exploring different options for density or building types within the rules.
Any downsides to TestFit? Similar limitations.
Yeah, GSE Online Press notes similar things. Extremely complex architectural forms might challenge it. And like any AI tool, the output is only as good as the input data. You need accurate site info, correct zoning rules fed in. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Makes sense. Data quality is key. There was one more tool mentioned by GSE Online Press, Luma.
Right, Luma. This one is all about visualization specifically, creating realistic 3D animations.
Taking the designs and making them move.
Exactly. You can take relatively simple 3D models, and Luma uses AI to generate quite realistic animations. They mention a short, like 5-second animation might take only 10 to 30 minutes to render.
Compared to traditional animation, that's a huge time saving.
Massive. It's great for explaining complex designs to clients or to the public for planning proposals. You can show how light changes on the building, how it fits into the surroundings.
Really helps people feel the space before it's built. Limitations there.
Again, some caveats. It might struggle with rendering extremely fine, intricate details perfectly accurately. And like many cloud-based services, processing times could slow down if lots of people are using it at once.
Okay, so PlanFinder for rapid layouts,
Mhm.
TestFit for site feasibility, Luma for visualization. It paints a picture of AI assisting at different key stages.
Definitely. It seems less about replacement and more about augmentation, giving designers and planners powerful new capabilities.
All right, let's zoom out now. We've talked about tools for specific buildings or sites. How is AI impacting the broader scale, the smart city idea?
This is where sources like Sand Technologies come in. They really emphasize AI's growing role in tackling the big urban challenges, population growth, climate change, the need for sustainability. They even predict significant growth in the AI urban planning market.
Which suggests cities and planners are really starting to invest in this.
Mm-hmm.
What were the problems with the old ways of planning that AI is helping solve?
Well, a key issue pointed out by Sand Technologies and also NYU Tandon is that traditional planning often relied on data that was, frankly, outdated. Static surveys, census data that's years old.
Right, plan for yesterday's city almost?
Kind of, and that can lead to inefficiencies, roads that don't match traffic flow, services not located where people need them most. It can even worsen social inequalities. Sand Technologies cites a statistic that in many major U.S. cities, over 70% of residents have limited access to essential services.
Wow, and AI can help fix that. How? By using better data.
By using more data and more current data, AI can analyze multiple streams, traffic sensors, public transport usage, anonymized mobile data, social media sentiment, energy consumption, all sorts of things, often in near real time. This allows for much more accurate predictions and more responsive planning.
And how does that translate into making a city smarter?
One really interesting concept Sand Technologies discusses is digital twins.
Digital twins, like a virtual copy of the city?
Exactly. Using real-time data, often from Internet of Things sensors, you create a constantly updated virtual model of the city. Planners can then use this twin to simulate changes, test a new bus route, see the impact of a new development, model emergency responses before implementing them in the real world.
That's incredible, like a testing ground to avoid costly mistakes.
Precisely. It allows for optimizing changes and reducing risks.
What about the day-to-day running of the city?
Yeah.
Energy, waste, transport.
AI is making big inroads there, too. Smart grids, mentioned by Sandtech and GSC Online Press, use AI to manage electricity distribution more efficiently, integrate renewables better, and cut waste.
Okay.
For waste management, Digital Define and Fill Archive mention things like AI optimizing collection routes, saving fuel, reducing emissions, and even using image recognition in sorting facilities to improve recycling rates.
Getting smarter about rubbish.
If
And transport, that's always a big one in cities.
Absolutely. Digital Define talks about AI analyzing traffic patterns, transit usage, pedestrian flows to optimize everything. This could mean dynamic traffic signals that adjust timings based on real-time conditions, or apps giving you genuinely faster route suggestions based on current congestion.
Less time stuck in traffic, hopefully.
That's the goal. They also mention adaptive lighting streetlights or building lights that dim or brighten based on whether people are actually around or based on weather. Saves energy, improves safety.
It feels like AI is weaving itself into the very fabric of the city's operations.
It really is. Digital Define lists quite a few areas.
Yeah.
Urban safety AI analyzing surveillance feeds or predicting crime hotspots, though that raises ethical questions we need to touch on.
Right, definitely.
Disaster response AI quickly processing information from different sources during floods or earthquakes. Intelligent buildings optimizing internal systems like heating, cooling, waste, even predicting when maintenance is needed.
Predictive maintenance for buildings, that's clever.
Yeah. Water management too, monitoring usage, detecting leaks faster using sensor data and AI analysis, ensuring water quality, even parking. AI systems directing drivers to empty spots or managing demand pricing.
No more circling the block endlessly.
Maybe one day. And they also mention using augmented reality combined with AI, so planners and the public can actually visualize proposed changes overlaid onto the real world through their phones or headsets.
Wow, seeing the future building right in front of you.
And finally, just making public transport smoother, optimizing routes and schedules, giving real-time updates that are actually accurate.
It paints a picture of a much more responsive and interconnected urban environment.
It's definitely more data-driven and potentially much more efficient.
Now, efficiency is one thing, but resilience is crucial too, especially with climate change. How does AI help make cities tougher, more adaptable?
That's a key point raised by PhilArchive. Urban resilience is vital for sustainability, the ability to bounce back from shocks, whether it's extreme weather, pandemics, or economic downturns. And AI-driven predictive analytics are becoming really powerful here.
Predictive analytics. So using data to see trouble coming.
Exactly. For disaster preparedness, AI can analyze weather data, seismic sensors, social media chatter, historical patterns to forecast events like floods or heat waves more accurately. This allows for better preparation, more targeted warnings, and more efficient emergency response.
Getting ahead of the curve.
And also for infrastructure. AI can monitor bridges, power lines, water pipes, using sensor data to predict potential failures before they happen, allowing for preventative maintenance. It can also help allocate resources, emergency crews, supplies more effectively during a crisis by analyzing the situation in real time. Often this involves combining IoT data with machine learning models.
Did the sources give concrete examples of this working?
PhilArchive's research did. They mentioned experiments using specific AI techniques like recurrent neural networks or RNNs for disaster forecasting and random forests for resource allocation.
Okay.
And the results they simulated were pretty impressive things like achieving 90% accuracy in predicting flood-prone areas in their models or providing a 15-minute simulated lead time for earthquake warnings. That kind of early warning, even minutes, can make a huge difference.
Absolutely life-saving potential there. There was also work on green spaces, wasn't there, from NYU Tandon? How does that fit in?
Yes, that's a fascinating application. They used AI, specifically deep learning analyzing satellite imagery, to map urban green spaces in Karachi with remarkable accuracy.
Why is mapping green space so important?
Well, the mapping revealed stark differences, big environmental divides between neighborhoods in terms of access to parks and vegetation. They could even calculate the average green space per person, which was quite low, below WHO recommendations.
So it highlights inequality.
Exactly. But it also quantified the benefits, showing correlation between lack of paved roads and more vegetation, and demonstrating the cooling effect green spaces have, which is vital for resilience against heat waves. This kind of AI-powered analysis gives planners concrete data to argue for more equitable green space distribution. They contrasted it with Singapore, which has much higher green space per capita due to deliberate, data-informed planning.
Using AI to see the invisible patterns and advocate for healthier, more resilient cities. Very powerful. Okay, this all sounds incredibly promising, but we can't ignore the potential downsides or the ethical questions. What concerns are being raised?
This is critical, and several sources touch on it, including GSC Online Press, Wikipedia, Sand Technologies, and the American Planning Association. One obvious concern is jobs will AI replace architects, planners, construction workers?
The classic AI anxiety.
Right. The counterargument often made is that AI will augment human capabilities, freeing professionals from tedious tasks to focus on creativity, complex problem solving, and client interaction. But it's definitely a transition that needs managing.
What other ethical issues come up?
A major one is algorithmic bias. AI systems learn from data, and if that data reflects existing societal biases like historical underinvestment in certain neighborhoods, the AI can actually perpetuate or even amplify those inequalities.
How might that happen in planning?
Sand Technologies gives the example of an AI optimizing public transport routes based purely on current usage data. That might inadvertently favor routes serving affluent areas, further disadvantaging neighborhoods with already poor access. The American Planning Association really stresses this risk.
So the AI isn't intentionally biased, but it learns the biases present in the world.
Precisely. That's why transparency is crucial. We need to understand how these AI algorithms are making decisions. And human oversight, keeping a human in the loop, is vital to catch and correct these biases. Regular ethical audits of these systems are also essential.
Makes sense. What about privacy? We're talking about collecting vast amounts of data about cities and people.
Huge concern. All those sensors, mobile apps, surveillance cameras generate enormous data sets. Sand Technologies and the APA highlight the absolute need for robust data anonymization techniques and strict governance policies to protect individual privacy. People need to trust that this data isn't being misused.
Trust is key for public acceptance.
Absolutely. And that leads to the need for community involvement. Ethical planning isn't just about the tech, it's about ensuring AI-driven solutions are developed and implemented with input from the communities they affect, addressing their needs and concerns accountably.
So avoiding a top-down, tech-knows-best approach.
Exactly. Wikipedia also raises concerns about accessibility within the profession itself. Could AI favor larger firms with the resources to invest in expensive tools, creating a divide? And ensuring the AI's training data is culturally sensitive is another ethical dimension.
Lots to consider there. It's not just plug and play.
Mm.
Okay, looking ahead now, what's the future trajectory, particularly for AI and wider infrastructure, beyond just buildings and planning?
EY provides some interesting perspectives here. They argue there's an urgent need for the broader infrastructure sector. Think transport networks, energy grids, water systems, to accelerate AI adoption to improve how projects are delivered. Currently, investment levels vary a lot.
So some parts are moving faster than others.
Seems so. EY suggests AI can help shift the whole model from a sort of linear, fragmented approach design, build, operate to a much more collaborative and flexible one across the entire life cycle of an asset.
How would that work?
They outline 5 guiding principles, really defining the purpose of using AI, planning for its use end-to-end, confirming the operating model, integrating it into how teams work, and using it to operate assets more responsively. An example they give is using AI for spatial location intelligence during site analysis.
So embedding AI thinking throughout the process.
Right, and they propose different business models to make this happen, like integrated platforms that manage data across the lifecycle, finding ways to monetize the data insights generated, or using contracts that incentivize AI adoption and its benefits.
Interesting business angles. What's needed to make this wider adoption successful?
EY boils it down to 3 things. The right mindset, meaning more collaboration, the right skill set, investing in training people to work with AI, and the right tool set, things like standardized data formats and secure communication protocols so different systems can talk to each other.
Mindset, skill set, tool set. Sounds like a solid framework.
It underlines that technology alone isn't enough. You need the organizational and human elements aligned too.
Okay, this has been a really comprehensive look at how AI is weaving its way into architecture, urban planning, and infrastructure. We've seen everything from AI generating floor plans in seconds to mapping green space inequities and optimizing entire city systems.
It's a huge spectrum, from micro-level design assistance to macro-level urban management and resilience.
And some surprising capabilities that speed a PlanFinder or the detail revealed by the green space mapping. Those are real aha moments for me.
Definitely. The potential is immense, but as we discussed, so are the complexities.
Absolutely. The ethical considerations around bias, privacy, and jobs aren't trivial. They need constant attention, human oversight, and genuine community engagement.
It's crucial that these powerful tools are steered towards equitable and truly beneficial outcomes.
So to leave our listeners with something to think about, as AI continues its rapid evolution, its capabilities only growing stronger, How do we as designers, planners, policymakers, and just citizens adapt? How do we ensure we harness this incredible power responsibly to shape cities that work better, are more sustainable, and are genuinely fair for everyone who lives in them?
That's the critical question we'll all need to grapple with moving forward.
Indeed. A lot to mull over. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights today.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating and rapidly changing field.
And that's our deep dive for today. Join us next time as we explore another topic shaping our world.